Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good morning. All. Thank you all for joining our session today. Today we are looking at Accelerate to the Cloud, focusing on NetBackup 9.0 updates. So it has been a long time that we've not spoken. So thank you all for your interest and thank you all for joining in today. This session is being recorded, so please make a note of that. We will share the recording link after we finish. We will also have a Q&A session throughout the session. We will keep taking your questions on the Q&A panel. And as soon as we, come to a point where I can get answers to the questions, we'll try to bring those questions live. And we will also continue to answer your questions on the chat. So today on the panel, I have, I have Philip Pereira and Ranga Bharadwaj. Phil and Ranga have been, long timers at Veritas. Phil is our chief solutions architect in the data protection space, and Ranga is our solutions engineer. So Phil and Ranga will take us through the entire presentation today and talk through the NetBackup 9.0 updates. On the panel, I have Jeffrey and Daniel. Jeffrey is our Director of Architecture and Engineering based here in Sydney. He leads the APJ team. Daniel is our Engineering and Architecture Manager based off Singapore. And I will be your facilitator and host for today. I am based here in Melbourne. So today we are running a quick Amazon giveaway. It's a $25 gift voucher for the best question asked. We will keep monitoring the questions. We will keep answering those as we go. And at the end of the session, we will have a quick run through of what is the best question that brings in the value props that backup gives to the customers. We will reach out to the winner over email after the session, and we'll let you know, when you get that. All right. So with that, without further ado, I would like to hand it over to Ranga. Ranga, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you, Amit. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Tech Drop-In. Just to remind everybody, please ensure you use the Q&A tab to keep those questions coming. We'll try our best to answer all your questions during the session. If for whatever reason we can't, rest assured, we'll ensure that the questions are answered via email. Now, NetBackup 9.0, this was launched on 1st of Jan 2021, followed by our global event on Conquer Every Cloud. Now, if you missed it, or if you still want to go refer to those Conquer Every Cloud demo sessions or events, you can still do it. All you need to do is go find the event, register, revisit those sessions until the end of March. So you have till the end of March to do so. You can go through the video content and the demos. Now, along with the 9.0 release, there is this NetBackup resiliency platform that was also included. This gives you orchestration of workloads and also NetBackup self-service capability. Now, with the release of self-service 9.0 and the appliances firmware on 1st of March, what we have done is we have completed that whole cycle of NetBackup release 9.0. Now, with the release of 4.0 firmware, what we've also done is we have completed 11 years of presence in the appliance framework. So a great functionality there. Now, also included with 9 is the RPMs for NetBackup Flex 2.0, and there is this new Flex Scale 1.3. Now we are going, okay, there is NetBackup, there is NetBackup Flex 2.0, Flex Scale, NetBackup Appliance. What is all this? So where do I fit in? What does it all mean? So just wait for one more session. Later in the session, Philip Pereira would be covering how this all fits in, what they all mean, and so on. All right. Now, as you can see, or notice, we are constantly improving our product functionality. Our release cycles are shorter. So we have a continuous beta program available for our customers called as Customer and Partner Engagement. The link would be sent to you. Now, If you want to take this opportunity and test it, you can do it right now. For the next releases, have your say. How should the product work? What should the product do? So by all means, go ahead and register for it and test it. Now, what makes us to do what we do today? Now, we have been continuously improving the functionality of NetBackup. So we ensure that the businesses are running at all times, make sure the data is protected, given any or all challenges, and ensure that the data is useful to its usable time cycle or life cycle. So that's our mission, and we want to ensure that customers use our products, ensure that the products are working to requirements. Now, at the core of NetBackup, we support 800 plus products, 800 plus workloads today, making it the most versatile data protection. Now, while the support exists for the workloads and the operating systems of older times, that is, we've been supporting it for a long time for those workloads that are around, we have added support for workloads that are more modern. So, for instance, Docker containers, we were one of the first ones, we were the first ones to get certified on Docker. So, containerization or other modern scale out workloads, we have support for it. So, it doesn't matter if it is at the core or at the edge or to the cloud, the transition is easy and seamless. Now, these are the themes for NetBackup. So while I'll talk about the themes, let's go for a quick poll. Amit, can we get through the polls here?
Yes, absolutely. So you will now see a poll coming in, and you will have the options that are on the screen are pretty much the options that we would like you to click through. And the poll will go for 30 seconds. Your time starts now.
Sure, thanks.
And yes, Ranga, we'll give 30 seconds, and then we'll have the results in front of us as soon as
Fantastic.
possible.
All right. So
All right, so
yeah, go ahead.
go for it. Yeah, no, go for it. You're going to say the same thing.
Now, as the themes explain, we've been working towards enabling more agentless protection, very fast, granular recovery of workloads, OpenStack native experience, which is new, and support for self-service and virtualized workloads. So, which one really works out? So, what's the most standout workload for you? So, we would like to know that.
Sounds good. So I think we have had a good response. I'll give the last 5 seconds, and we can close the poll. Yep. Let's look at the results, and as you all can see, the highest votes are for fast workload recovery, 40%. We have end-to-end resiliency coming in at 26%. That's next. We then have agentless protection with 24, and self-service and OpenStack support at 6 and 4 respectively. Over to you, Ranga.
Thanks very much, Phil. Thanks very much, Amit. All right, so I'm not going to talk about every workload here, but there are certain workloads that we'll be touching upon today. So during our chat today, I'll go through certain details of the workloads here. All right, so let's see some improvements with NetBackup 9. So with the evolving web UI and using RBAC, role-based access control, NetBackup provides a clear separation between workload administrators and backup administrators. So what this means is backup administrators can work independently to ensure that the things are automated, while the workload administrators, they work independently to ensure that they can protect their workloads. So this could be a VMware admin, this could be a SQL admin, an Oracle admin, and so on. So those are the platform administrators, and they can function independently using the RBAC capabilities. Now, similarly, if you are more modern workload administrator who would like to work with API, feel free to use REST API interface with NetBackup. Now, the entire web UI is built to work with the REST APIs. Now, over the years, through NDMP, we have allowed to protect the data. So NDMP has been the popular option for many workload administrators to protect the data on their NAS. Now, the primary issue with this type of backup is vendor lock-in. So, for instance, if you protect the data out of a specific vendor, say NetApp or Isilon or something, you're logged in, which means your restore has to go back into that specific functionality. Now, with 8.3 release, what we introduced is a new way to protect these NAS backups through dynamic NAS protection policy. A way to use multiple streams to protect the data, and you can have the ability to restore the data anywhere, whether it is cloud, physical, or virtual. You can restore it at any given point. Now, what NetBackup 9 adds to this is checkpoint restarts, which means if you have gone through the backups to a certain extent, then for some reason the backup fails, it starts over from the point where the last checkpoint was taken. Right? So instead of hundreds of terabytes to backup takes a long time and to get done, it would take a long time using NDMP. With this, what you can do is it's a dynamic NAS, and it helps you to protect the data at any point and help you to restore at any point. So the functionality of core to edge to cloud is capable. All right. Moving further, Azure Stack Update. Now, Microsoft is now recommending that Azure customers use managed disks more, right? So with this, what happens is it can be it is more for Microsoft to control the VMs much easier. Now they simplify the disk management for VMs. Now, what we do is we help to support backup and restores of this, and we help to support backup of or restore unmanaged disk in a managed disk format. So those are the capabilities built in, and NetBackup 9 extends the support to Azure Stack version 2002 or 2002 from the earlier versions. Now, there are other enhancements with Red Hat Linux 8.0. Now, for Red Hat OS platforms, we have now added special support to those who use Logical Volume Manager, and also non-LVMs are supported as well. Now, what this means is non-LVMs are handled as just the disk. So LVMs was already there, which included snapshots. Now it includes non-LVMs as well, and they're treated like disks. Now we also have support for MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and their backup utilities to better support these workloads natively. From a bare metal restore perspective, now BMR has been one of the standard functionalities for physical infrastructure, so you can recover these servers. So what NetBackup 9 supports is the capabilities for GUID partition tables for dissimilar disk restores. Now Windows UEFI system partitions are also supported, and you can now use physical to physical restores or physical to virtual. Those conversions are much easier, and added proliferation support for Solaris 11.4. So that's been added into the newer versions. Now coming up into the OpenStack functionality. Now there is a simplified methodology that is provided with NetBackup for OpenStack, which is agentless backups. Complete functionality that is released with this OpenStack capabilities that has been constantly done. Now there have been major vendors who are working towards this, providing this OpenStack capability to customers, and we are supporting these capabilities today. So it supercharges the OpenStack capabilities with multiple different feature capabilities provided with NetBackup 9.0. MSDP Cloud. Now, this was another standard functionality that was released in 8.3. Now, what we did was prior to that, we used something called as Cloud Catalyst to write the data into the cloud. With 8.3, we brought in this native capability of writing it to the cloud. So a media server, MSDP media server, has the ability to write to a array, or it could be within the appliance, it could be to an OST, or it could be to the cloud. And in cloud, different tiers of cloud storage could be considered for writing. So what NetBackup 9 does is it extends this to Azure Archive tier as well. So while we already supported Azure Archive tier as a backup target back in 8.3, what we have now added is a deduplication capability. So natively, NetBackup can write to Azure Archive tier as a backup target with MSDP Cloud. And all this can be configured easily through web UI. Now, I was talking about this Conquer Every Cloud event. So make sure you go register and look for this, where there is a specific demo on MSDP Cloud. How can it be easily configured through the web UI? So I definitely recommend you to go through that. Also, what we support with 9 is incremental snapshots. Now, in the past, it used to be full snapshots of Azure backup. So now we do it as an incremental snapshot. And what it means is quicker backups, efficient backups. Deletions of snapshots does not affect others in this case. Now, there are certain limitations of how many snapshots you could be created. This is more of a limitation coming from Azure. Now, this can be overcome by automatically filling to the full snapshots. Now, I'll pause here for a moment. Any questions here, Amit?
Yes, the questions are coming quick and fast, and I think the team is doing a good job trying to respond to the questions. However, there is one question, Ranga, that has come up, and I think it relates to the areas that you just covered, and that was, from the question comes from Huang Yung Wong. Can NetBackup restore a single item instead of being forced to restore the whole database, which in many scenarios is not ideal? So it's basically, trying to generalize the question to single object or single file restores, and going back to, the recent updates of NetBackup. Ranga, did you want to
Yeah.
take the
So,
question?
look, restoring a single item is restoring a single database. That is definitely possible. So not a single item within the database, but restoring a database is definitely possible. So that's always supported.
And we can of course do single file restores with virtual machine backups and the file system backups
That's
completely.
correct. But not an item within the database. As a database file, yes, a single file could be restored.
Sounds good. And there was actually one more question, but I think I'll come back to it if we have time later on. So let's keep going.
All right. Okay, so we are also making AWS Cloud Snapshot mechanism more agile and faster as well. Now, this new mechanism reduces impact to application running inside the EC2 instance during cloud snapshot operation. So that's where this support for non-AMI based host snapshots is now supported. Now, other supportability enhancements coming through. Now, what you have seen, if you have been using NetBackup for some time, and you would have experienced it. So if you had orphaned media service, NetBackups take a while, NetBackup master would take a while to go through and find this particular media server. So because there would be some rogue entries that would be left out, or it could not have been decommissioned properly. So what this leads to is delays or overhead on the master server. So what we have done is, now with NetBackup 9, there is a mechanism in which it mitigates this issue. so all it does is it takes a certain time frame. After that, it says, okay, I'm not contacting this media server. So that way the progression becomes quicker. So it works very well. Then starting with NetBackup 9, the retention periods that extend beyond 2038 are now supported. So there was this issue predominantly to the Unix time that we're talking about. So, so with the latest version, what we mean is we support the retention periods beyond 2038. So in the past, you would see something different. That is expiration dates of January 19, 2038, but now it can be upgraded, and beyond 2038 is now support. All right. So just to summarize this, the primary objective of our releases is to ensure that there is this operational simplicity and streamlining the management. And we have done this with a host of features with the new web UI that we have given. So with new web UI, customers can use it to configure the policies. Everything that could be done in the Java is now translating into the web UI. So that can be achieved. And more importantly, as I told you, that separation, that workload separation between the functionality separation between the workload administrators and backup administrators. Now, you need not rely on a backup administrator to do certain aspects. Backup administrator looks after certain configurations and automation aspects from a NetBackup perspective, while workload or platform administrators, using their own native tools, they can perform their own backups and integrate with NetBackup better. And also it's API ready, which means that if you want to function through APIs, that's there. Now, there is resiliency, NetBackup resiliency that is added to it, which means you can ensure recovery of your business critical data. So that's what is underpinning the functionality of near zero RPO and RTO. And then the choice and flexibility that you have. So you can write to any cloud. You have a choice to write to any target storage, and you can write it natively through NetBackup in an optimized way. So all these means that doesn't matter if you're going from core to edge to cloud, there is the seamless functionality that has been provided, and it's very, very flexible to use. All right. So with that, I'll hand this over to Phil to continue the next part of the session.
All right. Thank you. Waiting for my control handover.
Yes, you will have control now, Phil.
All right. Thank you. So so thanks, Ranga. And if you sat through us from the beginning, you would have heard of a number of new capabilities in NetBackup, and I've been watching the Q&A panel as well. A lot of people asking, when can I upgrade? How can I upgrade? Where is the documentation? We are typing in the question furiously as fast as we can. But towards the end of this session today, I'll indicate a number of other URLs that you can visit to get even more info. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes on time describing what choices you have for deploying NetBackup and using it. Right now, you've heard of the capabilities. Then the next question is, how do I use it? All right. So let's look at deployment choices. Now, the earliest known deployment choice that we've always had, if you work with NetBackup for 20 odd years now, well, so NetBackup has a long history. It's completed. It's more than 35 years. It's been around in the market, and we've always maintained a software model, right? So you could come to Veritas, buy our software, deploy NetBackup on your choice of hardware, and your choice of operating system, right? Most of us people in Veritas or some of our business partners will tell you this is the build your own option, right? So that option is always open to you. And if you are deploying NetBackup today in a cloud environment, now Ranga touched on all the cloud capabilities, a number of them, and increasingly our customers are moving to cloud or running production data environment in cloud use and they're still looking for data protection in those environments. NetBackup is available in an easily deployable format if you visit the respective cloud marketplaces. So if you visit like the AWS or the Azure marketplace, you can search for NetBackup, click next, and deploy a NetBackup master or a media server in a format that we built and templated for the respective environment, right? So that's a quick deployment form factor you can consider if you and when you have to deploy a NetBackup master or media server in a cloud environment. Then you also have the hybrid choices, right? The hybrid is, you might use your option of a media server or a master server. You might use a NetBackup appliance, and then you might also use third-party target appliances for storing your backups, right? We support a number of them if you look in a compatibility list from, starting from HP Store Ones to Dell Data Domains to Quantum, and a number of other choices are available for you as well, right? So I call this hybrid deployment models, right? So the hybrid model is available for you as well. Then you have the all NetBackup appliances based deployment option as well. So a number of our customers have adopted this model because in this model, you have to only deal with Veritas for your software, your hardware, and any issues dealing with performance aspects and whatnot, right? So you have like the single vendor to choke kind of option. All you have to deal with Veritas for everything top to bottom. And if you have deployments that are like non-data center centric, they could be in remote locations and whatnot, then, and if you don't have like a rack for hosting compute and appliances, you can also take our virtual appliances and deploy in those locations, right? So virtual appliance is almost all the goodness of the NetBackup appliances operating system and the security software all included inside, but deployable and available as an OVA. And with that, you could get the data protected remotely to the virtual appliance and get the data replicated to the data center for better security and retention. So you have the virtual appliances. And then you have our Flex appliance family as well. So, and Ranga mentioned about 11 years history with NetBackup appliances. So you have the Veritas appliances that have been around for 11 years. The Flex appliances family is now 3+ years since we come to the market. The big difference between the NetBackup appliance and the Flex appliance is that you get our hardware and you get the choice of running multiple instances of NetBackup in a Flex piece of hardware. And the Flex family is allows us to give you additional functions like immutable retention and whatnot is now functions that are delivered through the Flex appliance, right? Dockerized versions of NetBackup. Now, new to the deployment choices that we've had all this time, announcing Veritas FlexScale. So Veritas FlexScale is a new form factor we just announced in January, right? So later on, I will touch on a few and give you a bit more details on what's so new and big about FlexScale appliances family. So touch on the summary again. The virtual appliances family covers your remote sites or your virtualized, highly virtualized deployment. And if you want to protect data with the physical appliances, that gives you better levels of resiliency in case, something happens with the virtual appliance, you have physical appliance over there, it has another data retention capability separate from the virtual environment, and you can recover data rapidly, even if something happens with the virtual environment. So you have the edge appliance, as we call it, the Flex 5150. Just one new, and it has the capability to store data with immutable or worm level of retention as well. So what is that? Amit?
Just close it. Yeah, just close that.
All right.
Probably is.
Okay. So so you have with the Flex 5150, deploy in edge location, store data with immutable protection. It's good protection from any ransomware attacks as well. Then you have the data center appliance series starting with the 5250. So the 5250 is our most recent introduction of our backup appliances for the data center. Built-in media server or master server with integrated deduplication, including the ability to deduplicate to the cloud straight from the device itself. You don't need additional hardware anymore. You can have that one appliance do everything, including, be a master, be a media server, be a deduplication pool, and be a cloud deduplication engine as well. And for those of you who have lots of data to protect and who need lots of concurrent backup streams to be processed, that's when you start looking at our 5300 series. So the 5300 series is purpose built for very high concurrent backup throughput capabilities, right? So the 5200 versus the 5300, you're looking at almost 10 times, I'll say about 8 times more concurrent processing capability and consolidation capability that the 5300 gives you. So 5300 or the 5340 model, again, you can deploy it as a NetBackup appliance, or you can also deploy it as a Flex appliance. So if you deploy the 5340 as a Flex appliance, that gives you the choice of running multiple instances of NetBackup. So you could deploy your master server in there, more than one media server in there. And if you are someone who has more than one NetBackup domain, I mean, if I recall some of the largest NetBackup deployments right here in Australia, customers run 5, sometimes even 10 separate NetBackup domains. You could, with a 5340, even connect multiple NetBackup domains onto the same hardware footprint by running multiple instances of NetBackup media servers in there. And you also always have the long-term retention choice fulfilled with the Access 3340. So the Access 3340 is a capacity optimized appliance versus the 5340 backup appliance. So the 5340 backup appliance is performance optimized, whereas the 3340 is capacity optimized, which means you get lots of capacity at a lower cost point, and it's a viable option if you're looking at a tape replacement technology to use. Right, so this is a summary of the most common forms of appliances that our customers have been deploying and you may already be using in your environment. So with that, I want to give you some quick highlights of the Model 5250, which we released mid last year. So you can see the numbers and the stats over here show. It's got lots of CPU cores. It's got more memory than the previous models we had. Its storage is higher density versus the storage drawers we had with the previous models of appliances. And its connectivity choices are also much more times faster than the adapters we had in the previous models of appliances. So the faster connectivity also contributes to the overall higher throughput that this appliance has shown us in our lab test versus the model 5240. It's nearly double the performance. And the model 5230 Well, of course, it gives about 3 times more performance and about 3 times higher storage density as well. So if you are someone who still is using the model 5230, it's been in the market for a very long time. It's finally come to its end of its life cycle and support by January of next year, right? So if you're still using a model 5230 today, talk to your favorite Veritas partner or your Veritas account team and consider options of upgrading from the 5230 model, perhaps to the 5250 model. And you will also save on space on your racks because the 5250 is high density. And because the 5250 does about 3 times more work than the 5230, you might even be able to consolidate multiple media servers into a few number of 5250 appliances as well. All the appliances, we are proud to say, come with a hardened operating system based on RedHat operating system today, with the NetBackup software included, Veritas InfoScale that gives you a highly resilient, manageable file system that continues to maintain performance even as you add the storage, because like the 5250 will start at 9 terabytes and go upwards of 300 terabytes of attached storage for a data center backup appliance. It's also got a built-in intrusion, security intrusion prevention and detection software in it. So the IPS IDS capability we included with even our first NetBackup appliance launched in year 2010. So we didn't see the ransomware problem as going to be as such a serious problem as it is today, but a good foresight. We saw it, way back in year 2010. We saw it that if customers are going to store data on a backup appliance, it better have good security foundations built in. So the IPS IDS capability is a unique differentiator for the Veritas backup appliance, I'll say. There is no other backup appliance out there which has a built-in security software included in it. So rest assured, most of our customers who've had to face unfortunate ransomware attacks, etc., have been saved with their data sitting on NetBackup appliances. So far, they've been safe. None of the NetBackup appliances deployed worldwide have been impacted, and they've helped customers recover back to business very quickly with the data safely stored in them. And a little known fact here is that the NetBackup appliance also includes a built-in WAN optimizer. So in a place like where I am in Australia, where the data centers are widely distributed from Perth to Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra to Brisbane, customers do tend to replicate data backed up in one location to another quite often, and the built-in WAN optimizer helps with that. Right, so you don't have to consider third-party WAN optimizers. We have included one inside the NetBackup appliances operating system as well, right? So that's another benefit that you get in the Veritas appliances family. So with that, let me talk to you about the FlexScale family, right? So our most recent introduction into the appliances family, deployment choices. So let me go through quickly what is it all about, why it's different versus the others we've had, and where it fits best. So FlexScale is, as the names implies, is a scale-out hyperconverged form factor appliances family, right? So it's built with it's built on a foundation that is the same pedigree as InfoScale and IPS, IDS, all capabilities included. But as opposed to the appliances we've gone to market with so far, which have had storage subsystems that are RAID controller based, right? The storage subsystems in previous models of appliances are all attached to a RAID controller or to a RAID adapter. Whereas with the FlexScale family, the storage is actually inside the node itself, right? It operates as a cluster of nodes that handles the storage resiliency by way of erasure coding, right? So it's erasure coded data resiliency mechanism that is being used with the FlexScale family, and that allows us to build a technology that scales out, gives you resiliency in the face of even disk outages or even node outages in the FlexScale cluster. And another difference with the FlexScale family is that previously, we sold you the software and the hardware and the everything included as a bundle. With FlexScale, we are going to market in a different approach. We build the software and then we validate based on third-party hardware configurations. So at this introduction time, we are going to market with hardware bundle validated by HPE. So our software on a specific hardware configuration built for us by HP Hewlett Packard Enterprise is what we use for FlexScale. It's also making heavy use of the REST API. As you can see, when a collection of nodes work together, they need to talk to each other in a very scalable platform. And it does a lot of this using the REST API that was added to NetBackup with the version 8. So if you get a hint, we go through a journey with every release, we add capabilities, and then we start using capabilities even in our own products. Some things about where it's different. A lot of the capabilities of the NetBackup environment are abstracted. So for example, if you're using NetBackup today, you would be deploying a master server, you would be deploying a collection of media servers, and when you have a couple of media servers and deduplication pools attached to them, you have the job of saying, this client backs up to this media server and that MSDP pool or this tape and that cloud and whatnot, right? So you have to go and worry about allocating which media server handles which client's workload. And as far as the master is concerned, you might have to be concerned about, do I need high availability? Do I need disaster recovery? Do I cluster the master server and etc. With FlexScale, you deploy a cluster. The cluster has a master server that runs on inside the cluster. So you don't have to know where the master server is sitting in. The master server role still exists, but it's floating amongst the cluster nodes, and it's doing its job, but being there and saving you of the burden of knowing where is it, or managing its high availability. So high availability for the master is an included function. Now, the media servers, all nodes in the FlexScale cluster are media servers. So that means when you add a backup client, you just add the new backup client and allocate it to the FlexScale cluster. You do not have to worry about which media server is going to handle the job for that client. When a client has to be backed up, the workload distributor inside the cluster figures out which media server node is least busy and allocates the job to it. So it's a self-managing infrastructure with a resilient master server built into it, also with a built-in snapshot-based catalog resiliency mechanism as well. So with a combination of nodes operating together, what we've seen is a very massive restore capabilities you get out of a FlexScale cluster. So a lot of computing power is another benefit of running a FlexScale cluster. And it's designed to start at a certain size and grow at a node at a time on a nearly as a pay-as-you-grow scheme. So as your organization is scaling, or if you are setting up a new environment and you're looking at scaling over the next 5 years, talk to us. FlexScale would be an ideal environment for you to use. It's also focused on automation focused environment. So if you are a customer who likes to use a lot of automation, likes to go to perhaps ServiceNow, deploy a workload and say add it to protection and need not worry about whether it goes to media server A, B, or C. Well, FlexScale is ideal in that manner. You just allocate the workload for protection to FlexScale, need not have to worry about the underlying architecture or which node handles the workload. So I'm sure you are quite curious about what FlexScale is from what I described. Now, time doesn't provide me enough. Sorry, I don't have enough time to go through all the details of FlexScale today. So I will describe FlexScale somewhat more, but stand by for next week. I'll go through a more detailed session on FlexScale. But as I mentioned, the current validated architecture that we deployment architecture we have with HPE, starting off, it will look like this. You'll deploy 4 nodes. The 4 nodes will combine their internal storage attached together and give you a combined 448 terabytes of storage. So when you want to scale, you keep adding nodes to the environment. As you add a node, each time you add a node, you add capacity, and you add the processing throughput to the environment as well. So at this launch time, FlexScale starts with the 4 node implementation, and with FlexScale 1.3 today, we can scale up to a combined 1.7 petabytes of total capacity. Now, this 1.7 petabytes could represent 1.7 petabytes of deduplication pool as well. So yeah, so you heard from me. You can have a big combined deduplication pool in a FlexScale cluster. So it's the same NetBackup software that runs on FlexScale, right? So it's not a different version of NetBackup. All the things you saw and you heard from Ranga talk about NetBackup 9 will work with the FlexScale environment as well. So the same client software that you are used to is the same thing you'll use here. The infrastructure is in a different form factor. And with the FlexScale 1.3 that we came to market today, market in January, we support up to 16 nodes. And we are already working on its next releases, and we plan to go beyond 16 nodes very shortly as well. So this is new and exciting for us. I'm not going to go into much more detail on the FlexScale more than I've mentioned today, but I'll let you know that this time next week, meaning 17th of March, we will have another hour set aside for talking about NetBackup deployment options in detail. And I'll go through a bit more detail about how this erasure coding layout and other capabilities work with FlexScale. So this is new and fresh, and I hope you are excited as I am. Now, for the number of questions we've had over the call today, I saw Q&A, a lot of people asking, how can I know more about NetBackup? Where can I get the documentation? What compatibility list should I look at? Here you go. So don't worry about recording all of this. What we will do is at the end of this session, we will get a copy of these slides material over to you, and you can go through these URLs and get to those necessary locations mentioned here. So I'll mention a few things for your benefit. Now, I answered someone who was asking, when should I upgrade? How do I upgrade? How much storage do I need to install a new binary? There's this thing called the upgrade readiness analyzer. So you can go to that URL and say, I want to upgrade to version 9. I am now on version 8.1. What do I need to check? So when you click that option and you select the operating system that you're going to install NetBackup on, it will give you a checklist of things to look at, including how much capacity you need to worry about. The other thing that I kept talking to you about was the REST API, and Ranga mentioned a fair bit of the REST API as well. As much as we are excited about having a web interface, I believe the modern interface for anything in workflows today is the API. You know, people work with the API more than they work with even a web browser today. So if you have a look at the web interface in NetBackup, you'll see that everything that the web interface does works by using the REST API, including adding a backup, creating a restore, and doing a number of things that you will see in the web UI. So if you like to orchestrate any of those things by using Puppet, Chef, or any one of those API orchestrators, go to this URL, learn about our REST API, and you can work with NetBackup without even interfacing with our user interfaces. Now, if you're someone who is worried about how do I upgrade, it's great. I have NetBackup 9 now. Now I have to go and upgrade the masters, media servers, and the clients. Well, if you not had a look at VX Update, I'll ask you to please have a look at VX Update as well. With VX Update, you can very easily upgrade not only the masters, the media servers, you can also upgrade all the clients that you have in the environment, right? So if your client is at least version 7.7 and above, you can use VX Update to distribute a version 9 update to that client and upgrade the client to version 9, right? So it's a built-in software distribution installation tool. So rest assured, if you've been with us today, thanks for everyone who joined in this session. You know, we are an organization of 2,000 plus engineers worldwide. We are constantly looking at, solving and finding new problem to solve. Every time we solve a new problem, when we innovate, we come out with new patents. And, we support 800 plus workloads today. If there's anything new we can help you with, let us know. And with that, I will hand over to Amit. Amit, I know Q&A has been running along rapidly. We'll see how much we can get through. Is there anything outstanding or a theme as you see that maybe I can, or me and Ranga can answer today in the remaining time?
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. Thank you so much for taking us through the appliances portfolio. And I love the fact that we are talking about edge to core to the cloud, all built in under the single Veritas banner. There was one aspect that has been asked in a few questions around the licensing for FlexScale. If you could spend a few minutes talking about the licensing.
Right. Talk to a Veritas account team first. so find your favorite account team first, and if you don't know who they are, note down this email address and send an email, and we'll get in touch. Now, FlexScale is of course licensed based on, there are 3 elements to FlexScale licensing. The first element is the NetBackup software license, right? So you need to have the NetBackup software license. Even if you use any NetBackup appliance, you still need to have your software license entitlement that is purely focused on tell us what you want to back up from the front end, right? So if you're backing up 100 terabytes, you license 100 terabytes. And the common misconception, when you back up 100 terabytes and you store one copy on-prem, another copy in a appliance, another copy in the cloud, you just pay once, right? Whether you maintain one for 1 year or you maintain for 30 years, you still pay once. You pay for the front end, not for the number of copies or backups you create. So that's a benefit in the front end license model. The second element of licensing will be, there'll be a software license for the Flex operating system, right? So if you purchased a Veritas Flex appliance today, you'll see that we sell a Veritas Flex appliance based on 2 elements. There's one called the Veritas Flex hardware cost, and then there's the Flex operating system cost. The Flex scale purchase is also based on those two elements. Veritas will sell you the flex scale operating system license, and then there's the cost of the flex hardware, flex scale hardware that you have to pay. The flex scale hardware costs we pass on to our hardware vendor. So at this point in time, we will, we'll take the order, and we will work with you as we send a transaction through to HPE, who will supply the hardware. It comes through an integration center that Veritas has. So in every country, we have a flex scale integration center. The hardware comes from HPE to our integration center. We load the flex scale operating system and we ship to you in an integrated form factor. And from there, setting up the FlexScale cluster is a very quick and easy process. And I will talk more in my next week's session about hardware deployment, how we help customers with that as well.
Sounds good, Phil. Thank you. So there have been a few other questions around FlexScale, but I think I'll probably leave that to be covered in the next session. With the web UI, and we've mentioned that the NetBackup 9.0 web UI has an stronger role-based access control as well as stronger integration with REST APIs. Can you briefly talk about the ServiceNow integration and how the REST APIs can work with element managers in terms of reporting and notification?
Yeah, so good question. Now, NetBackup has a built-in plugin that can be used with, for example, as an escalation center to our ServiceNow, right? So when it's all fine when NetBackup backs up like 1,000 clients overnight, right? But when you come in the morning and sit on your desk, what's more important to you is not about the the 99% of the jobs that worked, but the 1% that failed or the 2% that failed, because failed backups, backup failures are unavoidable, because you think you are trying to back up the virtual machine, but the virtual machine is offline or is being taken down for maintenance, or the storage system has gone down, or the SQL database that you were trying to back up fails because the SQL server was taken down for maintenance or it was being upgraded. So there are a number of reasons why backup failures happen. So those incidents can be escalated to ServiceNow directly as alerts from NetBackup. So there's a plugin for ServiceNow today. And then for those who are looking at using ServiceNow, if your service management console is ServiceNow, now, for example, us at Veritas, our ask help from HR is on ServiceNow, right? We go to ServiceNow and file a ticket. I have this question related to my leave. I'll file the question there. It goes through ServiceNow and then comes a response. Similarly, organizations use ServiceNow to deploy a new workload, right? So if you're doing things of that sort, where you're using ServiceNow as a front-end console, you can also use that level of integration to pass a policy configuration information to a NetBackup environment to say, I need this new SQL server deployed. Its name is going to be this, and it's going to be backed up by NetBackup, and it's going to be retained for 3 months, and there's going to be a copy in Sydney and another one in Singapore, for example, right? So you could orchestrate that with ServiceNow as well. And the REST API, is available. If you're handy with REST API, with a lot of our DevOps customers are, you could directly place calls to REST API and talk to NetBackup directly as well. So yeah, multiple choices of integration with third parties.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Phil. I know that we have a lot of questions unanswered. So rest assured, team, we will come back to you with your responses, and we'll get back to you with the answer. We will also share the recording of this session as soon as possible. And as I said, we are going to bring out a winner for the best question asked for today. and we will consider all the outstanding as well as answered questions for now. So with that said, I would actually like to thank all of you for joining the session and making this a good collaborative partnership. We will like to continue this series, and the next series will soon come through, as Phil mentioned, where we will talk more about the NetBackup appliances as well as deep dive into the flex scale solution. Though we did not get a lot of time to do more Q&A, we'll try to make sure that we have some time allocated for the next session with a longer interaction session. But for now, thank you all for joining in, and hope you have a lovely afternoon today. And I will speak to you next week. So thanks all, and bye bye. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. Thanks,
Have a nice day,
presenters.
all.
Bye.
Right.
Thank you. Bye.